everyone. In this week's Monday TNT, quick stats, tips and tricks to make your coding life more fun, I want to tell you about the janitor package. So there are typically 3 packages that I load at the top of every script that I write with R. That is library tidyverse, library here, which helps you avoid file path drama, and library janitor. And that's because library janitor includes lots of really useful functions that solve problems that you encounter as you read your data into R. So I want to show you 3 of my favorite functions from janitor. And I have made a little penguins data set that illustrates some of these problems that my data always has, and likely yours does too. So I'm going to read that into RStudio first. So this is a subset of the penguins data that I have called dirty penguins, and I'm just going to use read CSV to read that in. So we'll load tidyverse and janitor and read in this little penguins data set. Now, if we take a look at this data, we can see that it has a few problems. The first of those is that the variable names are not necessarily consistently named. The research assistant who entered this data didn't think very hard about what they were calling the columns, and there are some variables that use uppercase, others that use lowercase. Some of the gaps have a underscore in them and others don't. Right? So because you have to type the names of variables a lot when you're coding in R, it's really helpful if the variables are named at least consistently. So we're going to fix that with the clean names function. Now, the other problem is that there are some columns here that are just missing data entirely, columns full of NAs. So there is another function in janitor that is remove empty and allows you to remove empty columns or rows that you don't need in your data set. And then I'm going to show you how to count things super easily using the table function. So first, let's pipe on the end of our read CSV call clean names. Now, once I run this, and then just to test that it's done what I want, I'm going to use the names function just to print the names of the variables. We can see that now the names of the variables in our data set are all lowercase with underscores in the gaps, right? And helpfully, actually, those variables that were empty before now have been labeled with an X and the column position, which is helpful as well. But so clean names will make all of your variable names a consistent format. We want to get rid of those variables that are just full of missing values as well. So I'm going to add another pipe and use the remove empty function from janitor to, in this case, we just have empty columns. So we're going to say which, and we've got empty cols. And if we run that pipeline again, and then check that it's done what we want using the names function, we can see that those variables that were just full of missingness are now gone, right? So clean names followed by remove empty gets your variable names fixed up, and any columns and or rows, if you had them, that were just completely missing, removed from your data set. Now, the other function that I use from janitor all the time is the table with a Y function. And it makes it really, really easy for you to get quick counts of things in your data, right? So if you wanted to know, for example, how many penguins in the data set were there in each species, if you were going to use a kind of dplyr solution, then maybe you would go penguins and you go group by species, and then you would go pipe again and summarize, and this we want count equals n, right? And we would get, in this little data set, we have 4 Adelie, 6 Ginstrap, and 2 Gentoos. But that's like 3 lines of code. So the table function allows you to get quick counts with much less typing. So if I say I want my penguins data piping into a table function, and then we want a table by species, we get actually more useful information. So we get not only, we now know that there are 4 Adelies and 6 chinstraps and 2 gentus in this data set, but we also get percentages. And you can use the table with a y function for more than one variable. So let's say we wanted to know not only how many penguins of each species are, but how many of each species live on each island. So we could add island to this table call, and then we now know that not only how many we have in each species, but also where they live. So table with a y is a super useful function when you want to get quick frequencies from your data. Hope that this little deep dive into the janitor package was useful. Good luck.